what one will what one would expect Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, to do is to opt for peace rather than threatening the world with third world war or nuclear power. That is not the way to go. The way to go is to seek peace, because the peace initiative by Donald Trump, started by Donald Trump belatedly, because it came later than he promised, and even its way of coming was very rough. But having come, the only obstacle on its way has been Russia under Vladimir Putin. So you obstruct the peace talk, ceasefire, and peace talk dialogue. You obstruct it. And now that NATO, including America, has decided that Ukraine should not be abandoned to your massive power, you are now threatening a third world war, because you have nuclear power to destroy everybody. Where is reasoning in that? You want to start third world war because you have what it takes to level the whole world. And that's the only thing you can find in your brain. Power. You want to show Ukraine pepper. You want to turn Ukraine into ashes, and that is all right in your mind. NATO, including America, did not start with reinforcing to continue the war, but to engender peace, starting with ceasefire as reasonable. But you don't want peace, ceasefire. You don't want NATO to empower Ukraine. So that means what you want is turning Ukraine into ashes. I see it as madness, intellectual bankruptcy, lack of reasoning in a humane way. Of course, NATO itself did not handle the matter intellectualistically. And in fact, it handled the matter unthoughtfully, asking Ukraine to counter-attack you, because you started the attack. Ukraine only counter-attack, relying on the backing of NATO, including America. Where NATO got it wrong was asking Ukraine not to use long-range weapons against Russia, while Russia permits itself to use long-range missile weapon against Ukraine. And that was tolerated by NATO for more than a year. So you ask yourself, where has human reason gone? Consideration. When you have said something, when you have decided something, you sleep over it, and it must keep coming back to your mind to judge. I hope I acted well. I hope I said it well. I hope I didn't mess up myself. NATO messed up itself. No doubt about that. And Donald Trump coming to power used that to gain popularity, saying he will end the war as soon as he got power. Upon getting power, he became something else. In the first instance, he put the Russia-Ukrainian war aside until some weeks, up to the point of reminding him, did you not promise to stop this war as soon as you get power, possibly within the first 24 hours? Of which I think that if he took the right steps, he could have achieved something. But behind his mind was not peace, but how to get Ukraine to pay compensation to America. That was uppermost in his mind, while saying that too many people are dying in the war. Too many people are dying in the war, but you are more concerned about the mineral resources of Ukraine, which it must permit you to possess. Hypocritically mentioning that many people are dying and doing nothing about it. But, well, at least that one has gone to the river to drink water forever. Now, a new page has been opened, or was opened. Let me start with the new page opened. The page of ceasefire towards eventual resolution of the crisis. And the obstacle on its way is you, Vladimir Putin. So now so what you want is that NATO should abandon Ukraine to you, to level it, to turn it to ashes. And that is humane to you. Who are in Ukraine? Are they not human beings? Yes, Ukrainian leaders may have decided the war, but there are those who may not want the war but have no mouth. So your thinking is very shallow. Your thinking is how you will destroy Ukraine. And that's why you don't want NATO to support Ukraine, isn't it? And now you, China, the Chinese leader, I'm disappointed in you terribly, because as a friend of Putin, what are you saying to him? What are you saying to Putin? Or let me ask you, what are you saying to Putin and NATO? You just kept quiet until now that NATO says, we have not been giving enough support to Ukraine. Let us give enough support to Ukraine. Otherwise, this Putin, who doesn't want ceasefire or end to the war, will level Ukraine. That is when you now rise up in support of Russia. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But I would have thought that China is known for peace and progress. The largest economy in the world, or one of the largest at least, one of the world powers in the world, is sat in defense, while the crisis between Ukraine and Russia, or NATO and Russia, was going on. You could not blame Russia, you could not chastise NATO. And the condition of Ukraine, we need to know why Russia must insist that Ukraine has no right to her sovereignty. her freedom to choose her association as a sovereign state. We need to know that. And now you are supporting Russia because NATO says we have not given enough support to Ukraine, and we don't want Russia to turn Ukraine into ashes. And the only thing China can offer is siding with Russia to engender the Third World War or turn Ukraine into ashes. Chinese leaders, you must be ashamed of yourselves. That's the truth. I was also disappointed the role you played in Gaza. You have nothing, or you had nothing to say to Hamas, only that Israel should stop blocking aid to Gaza. And the circumstances beyond and the circumstances surrounding the blockade is of less concern to you, other than to threaten Israel not to touch your cargo. Just flexing muscle. Why don't you flex your reasoning faculty to bring about wisdom on how to settle the matter between Israel and Hamas? You know what Hamas did on October 7. Whatever brought it about, nobody can do it with China and get away. Whatever brought it about, the massacre of the Jews on October 7, 2023. And the perpetrators insisting that they will continue to do it. And the only thing you can do is to threaten Israel. You are not alone in that. Many countries, even the French and UK leaders took that line of action too. They forgot where they were coming from, that Israel must be protected. How to bring about balanced judgment now became of less concern. Even as Hamas has been using human shield, the world is not talking about it. Two serious issues, October 7 and the use of human shield by Hamas. None of this is of importance other than Israel is committing genocide. So, what about whatever the prevailing situation before October 7? Israel was not accused of genocide, probably apartheid. And of course, one is more serious, more devastating. When I saw the picture, the photo of Gaza before October 7 and what Gaza has become, it is beyond weeping. It is beyond weeping. But why? Because the whole world wants to be blind to the atrocity of Hamas, but to focus what they call atrocities of Israel, which amounts to counter-attack. However you interpret it, is counter-attack, at least for the immediate cause of the war. China is not interested in any of this except when to come about and flex muscle behind Russia or behind Hamas. Because any support, any opposition to Israel is in support of Hamas. No two ways about it. So, I expected you longest time ago, China, to tell your friend, Russia, why are you doing this? How on earth can you say Ukraine has no entitlement to her sovereignty and self-determination? So, and whatever is there to resolve it. In all this while, you have nothing to say except now that NATO decide to back Ukraine and minimize the destruction being inflicted by Russia, you now stand and say that means you are supporting Russia to level Ukraine. I don't want to talk about North Korea because I've never been impressed by their leader. That's the truth of the matter. I'm never impressed, and not much good news is coming for North Koreans, as a matter of fact. But China, I respect China, and I know China is benefiting a lot from America and Europe. When I went to America, when I used to go to America, most of the things I bought in America were made in China. Most of the things I bought in America were made in China. So I expect you to stand as a balancing force and not a force that will turn itself into a terror like Russia or like Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. I expect you to be more balanced. But now the whole world is siding with Hamas, while they are unable to rescue Gaza from the clutches of Israel, aggrieved by the terrorism of Hamas. The world doesn't want to face reality and objectivity, but emotion and sentiment. And that is what NATO is guilty of, Russia is guilty of it, and now you, China. I don't want to talk about North Korea because I'm not impressed by their leader and what they are doing to common North Koreans, limiting their human freedom in a horrible way. So I'm calling on the whole world to let us come to our senses and tell Russia, ceasefire was proposed, you stand on its way, and now that NATO is rising to the support of Ukraine, you say you want to inflict the world with Third World War. Where do you stand? And that is where China ought to have come in as a balancing force rather than an aggressor or a braggart like Putin. I don't want to say Russia because even NATO leaders, I hope the whole world understands it to be like that. And now I'm talking to Russian, Chinese leaders, that you should be a balancing force with the amount of influence you wield around the whole world, in Africa, in Asia, even in America and Europe. You have enormous influence that you can bring to bear on peace rather than on war.